Every neurologist is telling you to do puzzles, play Sudoku, learn a new language, keep your brain busy. And they are not wrong. Mental stimulation matters. But not a single one of them is telling you about the 7 vegetables that make your brain actually capable of responding to that stimulation. Because here is what nobody is saying out loud. You can do crossword puzzles until your hand cramps and still lose memory after 60, if the machinery inside your brain cells that builds new neural connections is starving. And in most people over 60, it is starving. The blood flow to critical brain regions has dropped. The inflammation in the hippocampus, your brain's memory center, is running hot. The growth factor that tells your brain to build new neurons is at its lowest point in your entire life. And the toxic proteins that destroy brain cells are accumulating faster than your body can clear them. Vegetables fix all of that. Not through calories, not through general nutrition, through specific compounds that no supplement, no pill, and no amount of fish oil contains in the same form. Compounds that unlock the brain-building pathways that mental exercise alone cannot open. Let's go straight into these vegetables, but before I do, I want to thank everyone that is new here, and please subscribe to this channel also. This means a lot to me, as it helps me grow. And to my returning subscribers, thank you for coming here again. Please do not forget to like and share this video. I am counting down the 7 most powerful brain-regenerating vegetables on the planet. By the time you reach number 1, you will understand more about how vegetables rebuild your brain than most doctors, nutritionists, and health influencers will ever explain. Most of them have never even heard of the mechanisms I'm about to break down. We start at number 7 and work our way to the top. Each vegetable is more powerful than the last. Let us go. Let's start with number 7. Beetroot. Most people think of beets as that earthy-tasting root vegetable their grandmother boiled and they avoided as a child. But beetroot is one of the most scientifically validated brain-protecting foods ever studied in older adults, and the reason comes down to one molecule, nitrate. Beetroot is one of the richest natural sources of dietary nitrate. When you eat beets, the nitrate is absorbed into your bloodstream and converted, first by bacteria on your tongue, and then by your body, into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule that relaxes and widens your blood vessels. Wider blood vessels mean more blood flow, and more blood flow to the brain means more oxygen delivery, more glucose delivery, and more efficient removal of the metabolic waste that accumulates between brain cells. Here is why this matters specifically after 60. As you age, your cerebral blood vessels stiffen. The endothelial cells lining them produce less nitric oxide. Blood flow to your brain, particularly to the frontal lobes, the regions responsible for decision-making, planning, and working memory, drops significantly. Your brain is not running out of intelligence, it is running out of fuel. A study from Wake Forest University examined the effects of a high-nitrate diet on older adults aged 70 and above. Using perfusion MRI, a brain scan that measures blood flow in real time, the researchers found that a high-nitrate diet increased blood flow to the white matter of the frontal lobes. These are the exact brain regions that deteriorate in the earliest stages of cognitive decline and dementia, the areas where executive function lives. But there is a second mechanism that makes beets remarkable for the aging brain. Nitric oxide does not just open blood vessels, it also functions as a neurotransmitter in its own right. It modulates communication between neurons in the hippocampus and the cortex, supporting a process called long-term potentiation, the cellular mechanism that underlies learning and memory formation. When nitric oxide levels drop, which they do with age, your neurons communicate less efficiently, the signals get weaker, memories form more slowly and fade more quickly. By restoring nitric oxide production through dietary nitrate, beetroot helps keep those neural conversations clear and strong. 1 cup of beetroot juice, or 1 medium roasted beet, provides a clinically meaningful dose of nitrate. Eat it consistently. The vascular improvements build over time. A study published by the American Physiological Society found that 4 weeks of daily beetroot juice consumption improved cerebral autoregulation. the brain's ability to maintain steady blood flow despite changes in blood pressure in older adults. That is not a small finding. That is your brain's self-protection system getting stronger. Number 6. Sweet potato. And it is here for a reason most people would never guess. It has nothing to do with fiber or complex carbohydrates. Sweet potato is here because it is one of the most concentrated food sources of beta-carotene on the planet. And beta-carotene does something inside your brain cells that directly fights the mechanisms of cognitive aging. Beta-carotene is a carotenoid, a fat-soluble pigment that gives sweet potatoes their deep orange color. When you eat sweet potato, the beta-carotene crosses into your bloodstream, travels to the brain, and embeds itself into the membranes of your neurons. Once there, it functions as a frontline defender against oxidative damage. Your brain is the most metabolically active organ in your body. It consumes roughly 20% of your total oxygen supply, despite being only 2% of your body weight. That intense oxygen consumption generates enormous quantities of free radicals, unstable molecules that attack the fatty membranes surrounding your brain cells. After 60, your natural antioxidant defenses decline. The free radicals gain the upper hand, and the result is progressive damage to the very membranes that neurons depend on to communicate. Beta-carotene intercepts these free radicals directly inside the membrane, neutralizing them before they can damage the signaling proteins and ion channels that neurons use to fire. A large longitudinal study, the Chicago Health and Aging Project, followed thousands of older adults over years and found that higher dietary intake of beta-carotene was associated with slower cognitive decline. The participants who consumed the most beta-carotene-rich foods showed measurably better preservation of global cognition compared to those with the lowest intake. But sweet potato does more than deliver beta-carotene. It also provides a meaningful amount of vitamin B6, which is a cofactor in the production of several critical neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. After 60, neurotransmitter production naturally slows. Giving your brain the raw materials it needs to keep producing them is not optional, it is essential. One medium sweet potato, baked, not fried, provides over 400% of your daily vitamin A requirement through beta-carotene, along with vitamin B6, potassium, and fiber. Eat the skin. The skin contains concentrated antioxidants that complement the beta-carotene in the flesh. Pair it with a small amount of healthy fat, a drizzle of olive oil, a few slices of avocado, because beta-carotene is fat-soluble and absorbs dramatically better in the presence of dietary fat. Number 5. Kale. And before you say you have heard enough about kale, listen, because the reason kale is on this list has nothing to do with the general health claims you have seen everywhere. It is about one specific nutrient that accumulates in your brain and directly protects the grey matter where your memories and personality live. That nutrient is lutein. Lutein is a carotenoid, like beta-carotene from sweet potato, but it behaves differently in the brain. Lutein crosses the blood-brain barrier and concentrates in the neural tissue itself. It is one of only two carotenoids, lutein and zeaxanthin, that the brain selectively absorbs and retains at high levels. Your brain is choosing to hold on to this molecule. That alone should tell you something. A systematic review published in the journal Nutrients examined randomized controlled trials and cohort studies in healthy older adults and found that lutein intake had a measurable positive impact on brain health. MRI studies showed that 12 months of lutein supplementation, equivalent to what you can get from regular kale consumption, improved brain activity during learning tasks, strengthened resting state connectivity between brain regions, and was associated with greater grey matter volume. More grey matter means more neurons. More connectivity means those neurons are talking to each other more effectively. But here is the mechanism that makes lutein truly extraordinary. Lutein does not just sit passively in the brain tissue as an antioxidant shield, though it does that too. It actively modulates the inflammatory signaling inside neural tissue. After 60, microglia, the immune cells of the brain, become chronically activated. They shift from a protective role into a destructive one, releasing inflammatory molecules that that damage healthy neurons. This process is called neuroinflammation, and it is now considered one of the primary drivers of age-related cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease. Lutein helps dial down that microglial overactivation. It reduces the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines inside the brain without suppressing the immune system elsewhere in your body. It is targeted, it is specific, and it is exactly what an aging brain needs. Kale is the single richest, commonly consumed vegetable source of lutein, providing far more per serving than spinach, broccoli, or any other green. 1 cup of raw kale provides approximately 22 milligrams of lutein. That is a therapeutic dose from a single cup of food. Kale also delivers vitamin K, and not a small amount. 1 cup provides over 600% of the daily requirement. Vitamin K is essential for the production of sphingolipids, specialized fats that form the insulating sheath around your nerve fibers. Stronger insulation means faster, more reliable nerve signal transmission. Your thoughts literally travel faster. I want to pause here and say something directly to you. If you are still watching, if you made it this far, you are clearly someone who takes your brain health seriously. That matters. And I want to make sure you do not miss what is coming next. Hit subscribe so the next one finds you if you have not still subscribed yet. Also, let me know in the comment section which country you are watching. I love to connect with my audience in the comment section. Back to number 4, broccoli. And the compound that puts broccoli this high on the list is not a vitamin. It is not a mineral. It is an organosulfur compound called sulforaphane. And what it does inside your brain is so remarkable that a 2025 review paper in Frontiers in Cellular Neuroscience was literally titled Broccoli for the Brain. Sulforaphane activates a pathway inside your cells called the NRF2 pathway, nuclear factor erythroid 2 related factor 2. When NRF2 is switched on, it triggers the production of dozens of protective enzymes that do 2 critical things simultaneously. First, they neutralize the reactive oxygen species, the free radicals, that are damaging your neurons from the inside. Second, they suppress the NF-κB inflammatory signaling cascade that drives chronic neuroinflammation. That dual action, antioxidant defense and anti-inflammatory suppression, activated by a single compound, is extraordinarily rare in nature, and it explains why sulforaphane has shown protective effects across Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and general age-related cognitive decline in preclinical research. But here is where sulforaphane separates itself from every other compound on this list. It increases the production of BDNF, Brain-Derived Neurotrophic Factor. BDNF is, without exaggeration, the single most important protein for brain regeneration. It is the molecule that tells your brain to grow new neurons, strengthen existing synapses, and repair damaged neural circuits. Research has shown that sulforaphane activates BDNF transcription through the NRF2 pathway, essentially flipping on the switch that tells your brain to rebuild itself. After 60, BDNF levels decline. That decline is directly correlated with memory loss, reduced learning capacity, and increased vulnerability to depression. Anything that raises BDNF is profoundly valuable, and sulforaphane does it naturally, from food. There is one critical detail about maximizing sulforaphane from broccoli that most people get wrong. Sulforaphane is not actually present in broccoli as you buy it. Broccoli contains a precursor called glucoraphanin. When you chew or chop the broccoli, an enzyme called myrosinase converts glucoraphanin into sulforaphane. But here is the problem. Cooking at high heat destroys myrosinase. If you boil or microwave broccoli for more than a minute or two, you lose most of the conversion potential. The solution? Chop or crush your broccoli and let it sit for at least 40 minutes before cooking. This gives the myrosinase time to complete the conversion before heat deactivates it. Or eat it lightly steamed, 3 to 4 minutes maximum. Or eat broccoli sprouts, which contain up to 100 times more glucoraphanin than mature broccoli, and can be eaten raw on salads or in smoothies. 1 cup of lightly steamed broccoli or a small handful of broccoli sprouts daily. That is the dose that puts sulforaphane to work inside your brain. Number 3. Spinach. And spinach is here because it attacks cognitive decline from 2 completely different angles simultaneously, and both of them address root causes that most brain health advice completely ignores. The first mechanism is folate. Spinach is one of the richest vegetable sources of natural folate, not synthetic folic acid from a supplement, but the methylated form that your body can use immediately. Folate is essential for a biochemical process called the methylation cycle, and in the context of brain health, one of the most critical outputs of that cycle is the regulation of a molecule called homocysteine. Homocysteine is an amino acid that, at normal levels, is harmless, but when it accumulates, which it does when folate is low, it becomes directly neurotoxic. Elevated homocysteine damages the endothelial lining of the blood vessels that feed the brain, promotes the formation of blood clots in cerebral microvessels, and has been shown in multiple studies to accelerate brain atrophy, literal shrinkage of the brain. Research published in major neurology journals has consistently found that elevated homocysteine is an independent risk factor for Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, and general cognitive decline in older adults. Folate brings homocysteine down. It converts homocysteine into methionine, removing it from circulation and preventing its toxic accumulation. And spinach delivers one of the highest concentrations of folate available from any whole food. The second mechanism is nitrate, the same type of compound we discussed with beetroot. Spinach is actually one of the highest nitrate vegetables in the entire food supply, providing comparable or even greater amounts of dietary nitrate per serving than beets. That nitrate follows the same conversion pathway, tongue bacteria, nitrite, nitric oxide, and delivers the same vasodilating, blood flow enhancing effects to the brain. So spinach is doing 2 things at once. It is reducing the homocysteine that is slowly poisoning your cerebral blood vessels, and it is flooding those same blood vessels with nitric oxide to widen them and increase the flow of oxygen and nutrients to your brain tissue. One mechanism removes the damage, the other restores the supply. That combination is why spinach earns the number 3 spot. Spinach also provides a significant dose of lutein, the same grey matter protecting carotenoid we discussed with kale. While kale delivers more lutein per cup, spinach provides a complementary source that ensures your brain receives a steady supply across multiple meals. 2 cups of raw spinach in a salad, or 1 cup of lightly sautéed spinach with olive oil daily. The fat from the olive oil enhances absorption of the lutein and beta-carotene. The folate is best preserved when spinach is eaten raw or only briefly cooked. Prolonged boiling destroys folate. Number 2. Red bell pepper. And this one is going to surprise people, because red bell peppers are rarely mentioned in brain health conversations. That is a mistake. Because red bell peppers contain the highest concentration of vitamin C of any commonly consumed vegetable, more than oranges, more than strawberries, more than broccoli. And vitamin C plays a role in the brain that goes far beyond general antioxidant protection. 1 medium red bell pepper provides approximately 190 milligrams of vitamin C. That is more than double the recommended daily intake, and your brain desperately needs it. Here is why. Vitamin C is a required cofactor for the synthesis of several neurotransmitters that your brain depends on for every thought, every memory, every emotion. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of motivation, reward, and focus, requires vitamin C for its production. Norepinephrine, the neurotransmitter that sharpens attention and supports arousal, is synthesized from dopamine in a reaction that requires vitamin C as an essential cofactor. Serotonin, the molecule that stabilizes mood and supports sleep, also depends on adequate vitamin C availability. After 60, neurotransmitter production naturally declines. If vitamin C is low, and it frequently is in older adults, particularly those who eat few raw fruits and vegetables, the decline accelerates. The brain cannot manufacture the molecules it needs to function, not because of disease, because of a nutritional shortfall. But vitamin C does something else in the brain that is rarely discussed. It is one of the most important defenders against excitotoxicity, a process in which neurons are overstimulated by the neurotransmitter glutamate and essentially burn themselves out. Excitotoxicity is implicated in stroke damage, traumatic brain injury, and neurodegenerative diseases. Vitamin C modulates glutamate receptor activity and protects neurons from the cascade of calcium influx that leads to excitotoxic cell death. Research published in the journal Nutrients and reviewed across multiple clinical studies has confirmed that higher vitamin C status is consistently associated with better cognitive performance in older adults, including memory, attention, and processing speed. And the relationship is dose-dependent. The more vitamin C circulating in the blood, the better the cognitive outcomes, up to saturation levels. Red bell peppers also provide a substantial amount of beta-carotene, the same neuroprotective carotenoid in sweet potato, along with vitamin B6 for neurotransmitter production and capsanthin, a red pigment that provides additional antioxidant protection in the brain. One red bell pepper daily, sliced raw with hummus, chopped into a salad, or lightly roasted. Raw preserves the maximum vitamin C content. And unlike citrus, red bell peppers are gentle on the stomach, making them ideal for older adults who experience acid sensitivity. And the number one vegetable for brain regeneration after 60 is one that has been sitting on the shelf at your grocery store for your entire life, and almost nobody is talking about it: purple cabbage. This is going to surprise a lot of people. It surprised me when I first reviewed the science, but when you understand what purple cabbage contains and what those compounds do inside the brain, you will understand why it belongs at the very top of this list. Purple cabbage gets its deep violet color from an extraordinarily high concentration of anthocyanins, the same class of compounds found in blueberries, but in a concentration that rivals, and in some preparations, exceeds what blueberries provide. And anthocyanins are, according to the current body of neuroscience research, among the most potent natural neuroprotective compounds ever studied. Here is what anthocyanins do in the brain. They cross the blood-brain barrier, something many bioactive compounds cannot do, and once inside the brain, they accumulate in the hippocampus and cortex, the two regions most critical for memory and higher cognition. Once there, they suppress the neuroinflammatory cascade driven by activated microglia. They reduce the production of tumor necrosis factor alpha and interleukin-6 inside the brain, the same inflammatory molecules that damage neurons and disrupt the formation of new synapses. But here is the mechanism that puts purple cabbage at number one. Anthocyanins from purple cabbage have been shown to protect the integrity of the blood-brain barrier itself. After 60, the blood-brain barrier, the selective membrane that controls what enters the brain from the bloodstream, begins to leak. It becomes more permeable, and when it does, inflammatory molecules, pathogens, and toxic proteins from the bloodstream gain access to brain tissue that was never meant to be exposed to them. This blood-brain barrier breakdown is now recognized as one of the earliest detectable events in Alzheimer's disease, often preceding memory symptoms by years. Anthocyanins strengthen the tight junctions between the endothelial cells that form the blood-brain barrier, reducing permeability and keeping the brain's internal environment clean and protected. This is not general antioxidant activity. This is targeted structural repair of the brain's most critical defense system. Purple cabbage also contains sulforaphane, the same BDNF boosting compound in broccoli, because it is a cruciferous vegetable, so it delivers both the anthocyanin-mediated neuroprotection and the sulforaphane-mediated brain growth factor stimulation in a single food. Two of the most powerful brain-regenerating mechanisms on this entire list, stacked together in one vegetable. And purple cabbage provides something else that makes it uniquely valuable. It is one of the most affordable vegetables available. It lasts for weeks in the refrigerator. It can be eaten raw, shredded in salads or slaws, or lightly sautéed, and the anthocyanins remain stable through both preparations. It is available in every grocery store, in every season, in every country where this video will be watched. 1 to 2 cups of raw shredded purple cabbage daily. in a salad, in a slaw with apple cider vinegar, mixed into a stir-fry at the end of cooking. The anthocyanins are most potent when consumed raw, but they survive light cooking well. Add a squeeze of lemon. The acidic environment actually stabilizes and enhances the anthocyanin content. Now let me show you what happens when all 7 vegetables are working together inside your brain. The blood flow deficit that was starving your brain of oxygen is being reversed by nitrate from beetroot and spinach, opening the cerebral blood vessels through 2 independent daily sources of nitric oxide. The oxidative damage that was destroying your neural membranes is being intercepted by beta-carotene from sweet potato, lutein from kale and spinach, vitamin C from red bell pepper, and anthocyanins from purple cabbage. 4 independent antioxidant systems protecting your neurons from 4 different angles. The chronic neuroinflammation that was driving microglial overactivation and synapse destruction is being suppressed by sulforaphane from broccoli and purple cabbage, anthocyanins from purple cabbage, and lutein from kale. 3 anti-inflammatory mechanisms working through 3 distinct molecular pathways. The BDNF deficit that was preventing your brain from growing new neurons is being corrected by sulforaphane from broccoli and purple cabbage, directly stimulating the transcription of the most important growth factor your brain produces. The homocysteine accumulation that was poisoning your cerebral blood vessels is being cleared by folate from spinach. The neurotransmitter production decline that was slowing your thoughts, flattening your mood, and disrupting your sleep is being addressed by vitamin C from red bell pepper and vitamin B6 from sweet potato. And the blood-brain barrier breakdown that was exposing your brain to toxic invaders is being repaired by anthocyanins from purple cabbage. Every pathway, every bottleneck, every mechanism of cognitive aging addressed by at least 1 vegetable, usually 2 or 3, working through independent molecular targets. You do not need to eat all 7 vegetables every single day. You need to eat them consistently across each week so that over 7 days your brain receives all 7 compounds regularly. Here is a practical rotation. Spinach or kale every day, in a salad, in a smoothie, sautéed as a side. 1 of them daily is easy and covers your lutein, folate, and nitrate. Sweet potato 3 to 4 times a week, baked as a side dish. Red bell pepper most days, sliced raw as a snack or chopped into meals. Broccoli 3 to 4 times a week, lightly steamed or eaten as sprouts. Beetroot 2 to 3 times a week, roasted, juiced, or added to salads. And purple cabbage 2 to 3 times a week, shredded raw into anything. The key principle is variety and consistency. No single vegetable can do what all 7 accomplish together. But you do not need to eat them all simultaneously. You need to make them a permanent, rotating part of the way you eat, so that over each week, every brain-building pathway is supported, every inflammatory pathway is suppressed, every growth signal is activated, and every protective mechanism is running. The total daily vegetable intake in this protocol amounts to roughly 3 to 4 servings per day. That is well within the dietary guidelines and manageable for any budget. These vegetables do not replace medical care. They do not replace exercise. They do not replace sleep, social connection, or mental stimulation. They make all of those things work the way they are supposed to work in a brain over 60. 7 vegetables. Every pathway that was blocking your brain from regenerating after 60 is now open. Protein and puzzles are the bricks. These vegetables are the entire construction crew. Now you know more about how vegetables rebuild the brain than the vast majority of people will ever learn. Use it. Here is my question for the comments. Which of these 7 surprised you the most? Was it the purple cabbage, the broccoli and BDNF, the beetroot and blood flow? Tell me. I read every comment, and your answer might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear. If someone you love is worried about their memory, a spouse, a parent, a friend who is noticing changes and does not know what to do, share this video with them. You might be handing them the single most important piece of information they receive this year. Subscribe so you catch the next video. I am working on something that connects directly to this topic. You will not want to miss that. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.